Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show, the NBA trade deadline. Now, less than a week away. The clock is ticking, and the rumors, they are flying. Happy to have you all here if you're coming in live over on the YouTube channel or on X. We've got a lot to get into on today's show, and we've got a guest. Keith and I joined by Mike Scotto from Hoops Hype. Mike, thanks so much for jumping on.
Hey, my pleasure, fellas. Happy to join you.
Happy to have you here during a very busy time of year. Appreciate your time. Keith, man, we got a bunch of news this morning, too. We've got so much stuff that we can dive into. Where do you want to start, my friend?
Yeah, so we're going to start with, I think, the big story. And just so everybody knows, we've only got Mike for a little bit today. He's very busy. And full disclosure, if you all of a sudden you see him gone, that means something's, that he's got to go to work. So
the breaking news button.
If you see him pop out, we'll be ready. Yeah, see, he's got his phone right in his hand. Do you take it into the shower with you? Have you gotten to that level?
Yeah, I put it on the countertop. I have a towel. I fold over it to make sure it doesn't condensate in anything. And then you practice the curtain pull. I've had to tweet some stuff out, minor stuff, thankfully, but I've had to from there. So I have the towel. You dry your hands. And then you make sure you're ready to roll.
Yeah, there you go. Well, there it is. That's how hard this guy works. Mike, I think I met you first time at the old Orlando Summer League. Was when we met. And, you were working hard then, and I don't think you've stopped working hard ever since. So, we're happy to have you here. So, guys, if you have specific questions for Mike, get those in the chat because we're only going to have them for a little bit. But I think the story we got to start with the big news that broke this morning. Paul George suspended for 25 games for violation of the anti-drug program. Very clearly laid out that is the NBA and NBPA joint agreed to anti-drug program. And Paul George took ownership for it right away in a statement to ESPN where he said, I took something to aid me in mental health and didn't realize I couldn't. And I'm very much paraphrasing. And here we are. I'll try to come back better from this.
Yeah, this is shocking news, certainly. Mike, what does this mean for the 76ers as we head into the trade deadline? Well, first of all, what does this mean for Paul George? How do you think he's going to respond and recover to all of this? And then what is this going to mean for what the 76ers do at the deadline?
Well, you got a lot of factors to look at for the Philadelphia 76ers. First off, losing Paul George for 25 games. I mean, certainly they've been without him before due to injuries, but it seemed like they were trying to get some good chemistry and cohesion. Joel Embiid had certainly been playing better lately, but the difference now is they've got VJ Edgecombe to step up now, and along with Tyrese Maxey, who's playing at an all-NBA level. So I think they can weather the storm a little bit better than people think, but definitely a blow. I would say it's going to put even more pressure on Tyrese Maxey now. And looking ahead for the trade deadline in particular, so this suspension is going to make them closer to the tax than they were before, which is going to affect trade discussions for Kelly Oubre, Quentin Grimes, Andre Drummond in that regard. And they had been at least listening more than they ever had on Jared McCain. Didn't mean they were going to move him, but at least taking the call. So I think that's kind of the domino effect here that I'm looking at, especially less than a week away before the trade deadline, is what happens now? How do they likely get below that? And do they create the roster spots to give Dominic Barlow and Jabari Walker standard NBA contracts, which they want to do?
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see if they're able to give them those contracts and how they're going to make that work. Keith, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they're going to be able to find the flexibility to put all these pieces together?
Yeah, I think, in a weird way, this helps Philadelphia as far as creating the maneuverability to convert Barlow and Walker to standard deals. They were roughly about 7.5 million or so over the luxury tax line when a player is suspended by the league. not a team suspension, but a league suspension, there is a credit that is given towards the luxury tax to that team. So that knocked about $5 million off of the books for the Sixers towards the tax calculation. They don't get cap space or anything like that. It just takes it out of the tax calculation. And now what will happen is they're only about 1.2 million over. So that's Eric Gordon, who doesn't play for them, salary dump. That could put them in position now to really then create the extra roster spot. Now you get the 2 spots, convert Barlow and Walker, and then we'll see with other moves. You know what happens. Quentin Grimes, worth mentioning and reminding everyone, has a no trade clause because he's on that 1-year deal on the qualifying offer. So we'll see. This is obviously not ideal, but Philly's gotten used to playing without Paul George quite a bit over the last couple of seasons, and they've got pretty good wing depth. I would say this removes any chance. Not that I thought that it was overly high of Kelly Oubre being on the move. I think he's far too important to the Sixers.
Well, certainly unfortunate here. Paul George suspended. We'll see how he bounces back from this. He'll be out for the next 25 games. The Sixers right now in the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. They're going to have to weather the storm for a bit without Paul George. But as you guys have noted, they're also used to being in that situation. Let's jump over to the big name that we were hearing a lot yesterday and the day before, and that's DeAndre Hunter, potentially on the move. There have been a number of teams interested in him, including my Lakers. Mike, what's the situation there with DeAndre Hunter, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Lakers, and any other teams that are interested?
I didn't. You said your Lakers. You got part of the ownership group. I didn't know.
That
might as well at this point.
That would be nice. That would certainly be nice. And if anybody from the Lakers are listening, you want to kick me a little share or two here or there, I wouldn't mind it.
One of those Ramby payouts.
There you go. I'll take it.
As far as the Lakers with DeAndre Hunter, I mean, look, there was chatter about Rui Hachimura, Dalton Connect, who nearly was traded, then was rescinded last year. So a guy that they've certainly been open to moving, no question. But there would have had to be a third team there in that regarding Cleveland and Los Angeles. And then separately today, I had reported on HoopSype about a framework between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sacramento Kings that was really percolating yesterday, which is DeAndre Hunter to the Sacramento Kings. And for Sacramento, you've got Keon Ellis, a really good 3-and-D guard that a lot of people are looking at around the league, Dennis Schroeder, and Dario Saric, who's on an expiring contract. Now, most likely, I should say that there's been conversations where a third team could get involved here to take on Dario, which is not an ideal thing for Cleveland at this point, given where they are with the tax and the apron, the second apron. But that framework had been discussed, and it's interesting because they had a lot of different frameworks that went back and forth, including one that involved Malik Monk instead. But Cleveland was resistant to taking on his, I believe it was like $44 million or so over the next 2 years, whereas Schroeder, it's around 19 something because his second season after this year is partially guaranteed for around 4.35 million or so, which I had originally reported after he signed the contract. So it's an interesting thought there. Hunter's got a little bit more time coming and on his contract for next year, around I think 24 or so. So for these teams, it's an interesting kind of potential swap that could come to fruition here. And I love the comments between Laker fans in my mentions saying that they don't mind if they don't get Hunter. Then you've got Kings and, Cavaliers fans debating who would win that trade. But I think the bigger thing you got to look at, guys, if they're getting Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder, what does that mean for the health of Darius Garland and as an insurance policy? And also, Lonzo Ball is a guy that has been made available on the trade market. So is he going somewhere? Is he getting potentially dumped to a team? That's something I think you got to look at as well in these talks.
That's interesting because you got to think about what the goals of the Cavs are here, right? Obviously, they'd like to shed salary when we talk about. I mean, from the Lakers' perspective, I've been saying it doesn't make any sense for the Lakers to swap Rui Hachimura for DeAndre Hunter. You're just taking on an extra $25 million in salary for a guy that's probably in a similar tier player-wise. You're not necessarily improving your team, but we look at what the goals of the Cavs are. It's shedding salary, but you're also trying to win this year. You don't want to put yourself in a worse situation. You don't want to take a step back in terms of the quality of your club by salary dumping DeAndre Hunter. So trying to thread that needle can certainly be difficult, especially if they're also hesitant to take back future salary. You have to give somewhere, right? But you mentioned the Dennis Schroeder piece to that and what that could say about Darius Garland. Keith, if the Cavs were to pick up Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder and essentially do that in place of DeAndre Hunter, do you think that actually makes them a better team and gives them a greater chance at winning a championship this year?
I think it could. I think getting the additional backcourt depth is big for them. Hunter has not had a great season for Cleveland this year. That's been, I think, part of their willingness to move him, in addition to the savings that might bring there. So yeah, I think Schroeder would help. Keon Ellis is a guy I know you and I are both big fans of, Trevor. So he's somebody I think who could certainly help them quite a bit. They don't have a lot of backcourt defenders on that team, and that's where Ellis could really help. Mike, I thought it was interesting you mentioned Lonzo Ball, because I've had a lot of conversations with people who are pretty certain he's going to move at the deadline, because a team who acquires him takes on $10 million this year, but roughly half or more of his salary has already actually been paid out.
Yeah.
You're not paying it out. And for the Cavs, that would save them over $50 million in terms of salary plus luxury tax payments. So that's why you would do that if you're the Cavs. And as much as we all love Lonzo and everything he went through to get back on the floor, he's not playing for Cleveland very often right now.
It hasn't been a good fit. And you know, they got other cheaper guys, Craig Porter Jr., who they like. But you know, as you're saying about all those savings, I think about the teams that are trying to use their either cap space, like the Brooklyn Nets. You've got the Washington Wizards, who have a ton of space below the luxury tax. And all I think of is like the Dave Chappelle, Rick James meme, like bring it, because they want draft pick compensation. They want those type of contracts. Plus Lonzo has, I believe it's a team option for next season. So you can effectively cut him, and it's like an expiring contract. So you'd be getting assets back for a rental to help a team with a tax. Hey, I've seen worse if you're a team that's in kind of a rebuilding stage like those two teams. And there are others as well, but something to definitely keep an eye on over there. And Trevor, you know, you touched on Hunter and Rui Hachimura. Just a couple thoughts real quick on DeAndre Hunter. At times it was not a seamless fit with Cleveland, which I also think is part of the thinking here. And then you touched on Rui Hachimura and the money that's going to be owed to DeAndre Hunter. I'm curious to see what Rui Hachimura is looking for and going to get in the open market as an unrestricted free agent this summer in a weaker class overall, save, of course, for somebody who's going to break the bank like Austin Reeves. But in general, I think that's going to be an interesting part of the calculus here for the Los Angeles Lakers as they evaluate what to do with Rui on an expiring contract.
Yes, and that's been something that we've been touching upon, that the unknown in a lot of these situations, it's what does that next contract look like, and does that ultimately drive a move? Certainly it was a factor with Atlanta and trading Trae Young. We can go back to last year with Brandon Ingram, and the Pelicans decided they didn't want to be the team to pay him on his next contract. They ultimately move him to the Raptors, who decided they would be the team to pay him on his next contract. The unknown in this whole situation, aside from who the third team could be in a prospective Cavs-Lakers trade, it's what does Rui want on his next contract? And is that a number that the Lakers would want to pay? The Lakers would be privy to that. Other teams may not at this point, and we'll see ultimately where that goes. But Rui is extension eligible all the way through June 30th. Do the Lakers want to be the team to pay him that extension? Is it a moderate extension based on what he's making right now? Is it something where it's a very reasonable deal, or is it Rui saying, you know what? I look at what Josh Giddey got. I look at what Jonathan Kuminga got. Let's talk $25 million. I'm the best shooter on the team. Let's talk $25 million. How about $30 million? Let's try to get a little crazy with this. And if that's the case,
That's the word.
Then that gives you incentive to move on.
That's the word. Crazy.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the other team, the team on the other side of this report, the Kings. They're involved in all kinds of things. We're hearing. It seems like just about everybody who isn't Keegan Murray, Nick Clifford, and Maxime Reynaud is on the market for the Kings. What are you hearing about them, Mike, in addition to what you already shared?
Well, I mean, look, certainly a lot of people wondered if it was going to be a lackluster trade deadline, and here the Sacramento Kings said, hold my beer. Big picture, I would say, when it comes to Sacramento, I mean, look, they've been all over the place. Obviously, they've been trying to figure out what to do with their three veterans, and Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. There have been conversations where Keon Ellis has been attached to DeMar DeRozan as well as kind of a sweetener. Plus, DeMar only has $10 million guaranteed next year on his deal. So it's not unmovable, but, you know, you got to be strategic with it. People have asked me about Zach LaVine. I don't obviously see it now, but my thing is in a few months, if he picks up his player option, he becomes an expiring contract. It becomes an asset on its own. So if I'm Sacramento, I'm not like overly trying to just move him now. Just wait, take your medicine, get a good draft pick, keep it rolling. You know, Domantas Sabonis had been in a lot of talks with the Toronto Raptors. Now, I had reported on this, but I'll share for your listeners in case they didn't see this, that with Domantas Sabonis, a lot of the talk there was involving R.J. Barrett, who Scott Perry drafted when he was with the Knicks as general manager, and Ochai Agbaji, who Toronto separately is also trying to get off the books to duck below the luxury tax for their franchise. For Sacramento, to my understanding, they did not want to take Jakob Poeltl and his future money. He's had ongoing back issues. It's a concern. Obviously, he would need to come back, I think, for teams to see in general before he's traded. And then you have Emmanuel Quickley. And Emmanuel Quickley's money has scared off teams looking ahead, even though he's been healthier this year, thankfully, for him in Toronto to be in the playoff mix. That $32.5 million or so, whatever he's making, that's a little too rich for the blood of other teams around the league at this point. So that's kind of what's been going on there in that sense. When you look at Sacramento. Otherwise, of course, Malik Monk is a name that's been brought up. And as I touched on in the reporting this morning on Hoopsite, Sacramento also looked at trying to pair Keon Ellis, Malik Monk. Can we do something there? That wasn't something that Cleveland wanted to do. They were worried about Malik's money. So the new CBA is tightening the purses of a lot of NBA teams around the league for sure. And it's clearly affected Sacramento's ability to try to make deals at this point for sure.
Do you think that Keon Ellis, because there seems to be a disconnect between how most of the league views Keon Ellis and how the Kings view Keon Ellis? You see him getting DNP coaches' decisions, not being used, and yet there's this strong market for him. Part of that is that small contract. But do you think the desire to land Keon Ellis is enough for the Kings to use that to get off of the contract of Malik Monk? Is that something you think teams will ultimately be receptive to as we get closer to the deadline?
There's so much, like my head almost explodes with all the info on Keon Ellis, because you've got some teams that have offered like multiple second round picks for him that are playoff contenders on its own. Sacramento could have tried, or another team if they acquire him, to do an extension with him. I think it's February 9th is the first date. You know, is he getting $10 million a year? Is he getting a full mid-level? This is the conundrum for Sacramento and other teams with Mark Bartelstein of Priority Sports handling those negotiations eventually. Certainly he's a shark of an agent, and I mean that as a compliment. He's always gotten his guys paid, so you got to factor that in. But otherwise, yeah, there have been scenarios where they could pair Keon with DeMar DeRozan and Malik Monk, really more DeMar. But in that case, Sacramento's also looking to try to get picks back for that because they don't think DeMar's contract is that bad, and certainly not Keon. So the other scenario is they could also use it to try to move off of Saric for a little bit. But I don't think that's a huge need for them because Dario's an expiring contract. I think if it was to include maybe a Devin Carter, for example, that would move the needle a little bit more.
All right, Mike, we're going to go with a couple questions we got out of the chat for you and then let you get back to work here. So starting with this one from Raptors Shack. Are the Raptors looking at any shooters? Please say yes. That was what he added, not me.
Yeah, no, I know. Shooters. I mean, they have Grady Dick on the roster, so play him. He was supposed to be the guy they thought was going to be a shooter. Same thing as Jacoby Walter. Knock him down. I've heard more chatter about Toronto with big men for front court depth more than I have shooting at this point.
Yeah, and to that point, I heard something similar this week because they've been playing Calamari Boyles mostly at the 5 this year with Pirtle being out. And then you've got Mamu, who's played great for them, but he's not exactly a true 5. He's more of like a 4 or 5.
You're playing small ball once in a while. Jonathan Magbo. It's like that. That's not it. Exactly. Not against the David and Goliaths of like the Joel Embiids of the world. Like that's not cutting the cake.
And then let's go here because I know you're in the area. Any news on the Knicks? What are you hearing about the Knicks?
Sure. I mean, with the Knicks, Gershon Yabusele is the top trade candidate for them. They've looked at different packages with him and fellow French forward Pacome Dadier, another guy that they took in the first round. But both guys with Mike Brown haven't really gotten a lot of playing time. They've been in a lot of different conversations with Gershon. They were trying to get Yves Missy and Jose Alvarado, as I had reported, with New Orleans. That would have included a lot of second-round pick compensation, but that wasn't floating the boat of New Orleans. They looked at Jeremy Sohan a little bit with San Antonio, but San Antonio did not want to take Gershon Yabusele's player option for next season, which is about $5.5 million. Otherwise, with the Knicks, I mean, obviously Karl Towns has come up if they're going to try to make a move for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But, I mean, I'd say this, as of right now, going into the trade deadline, I don't see the Knicks being able to acquire Giannis with the current assets that they have. I just think it would take too much work to get done. Multiple teams who would value Karl, who would value Mikal. Are you getting the picks back? Like, it's a lot. They emptied a lot of their gunpowder to get Mikal Bridges and put themselves in a position like last year to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So there's a real possibility that core will remain intact, and they're going to get another shot at it in an Eastern Conference where James Dolan, the Knicks owner, has felt they can certainly get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, let alone get to the finals. There's a lot of pressure in New York right now for sure.
Where are you at on Giannis? Do you see him moving before the deadline?
I have always tried to look at this objectively and logically, and I've said to myself, if somebody's getting a deal done now, the Warriors have everything to empty the clip. But I hear mixed things on that. If you're Milwaukee and you're looking at this from Milwaukee's lens, it is objectively more advantageous to do this in the summer. Teams are going to have more draft picks available, including, and I've said it like this many times, the Miami Heat. Like, if that's one of the places he wants to go, they've got more picks. They got Khalil Ware, who's a good young prospect that people like. Tyler Hero, Milwaukee native, guy that's been an all-star, checks that box. They've got other expiring contracts. Like, they can get stuff done. I know right now I would think it's less likely, but just for, my own purposes, Simone Fontecchio, my paisan. And otherwise, like, around the league, again, a lot of these teams that are linked to him now, other than Golden State, don't have the gunpowder to do it. I don't think, to have this blockbuster package that Milwaukee would want. And again, in an ideal world, Milwaukee wants to re-sign Giannis to the $275 million extension in October. Who's to say they don't end up with the number one pick? Who knows? Does that move the needle? I don't know. But again, I've always seen this logically. We're going to the summer. And this is setting up the market for those summer months. And this saga has gone on for a long time. What's another few months?
Go ahead, Keith.
No, that's a pretty good summary of where things stand. We're going to get into a couple more Giannis related things after we let Mike run here. But yeah, I think that's good. Mike, what do you let everybody know where to find your stuff? They don't already know. Let them know what to be on the lookout for here, especially over the next week heading up to the deadline.
Put those mobile alerts on Twitter at Mike A. Scotto. It's in my signature name down there, right next to the name. That's it. Because I always get a kick. It's like, or even like during the draft, sometimes like last year, people would text me, "Oh, what do you think is the next pick?" I'm like, the second I get it, putting it out. Like everybody get it. Don't worry. Like that's where to get all my stuff. Obviously, hoopshype.com for the written content and stuff. But I tweet it out all at the same time. And coming up, going to be on Sportsnet this week, TV. Do some Yes Network as well. So you can turn the dial there coming up. And it's going to be a busy week, but looking forward to it. It's a fun time. This is what we live for. And yeah, there you go.
I will say, Mike, you do a great job with the reporting stuff. Some of the things I really enjoy outside of that is when you do the player interviews, because you get really good stuff out of these guys. You can tell you take time to talk to them about a lot of different things. So everybody should be checking those out as well on Hoops Hype. You've got some stuff up in recent with a couple different sons, Mark Williams and Colin Gillespie. So
Mark Williams was really good talking about the whole Lakers trade and got rescinded, what was going through his mind, knowing that as awkward as it possibly could be that he was going back to Charlotte, knew the whole time, well, I'm probably getting traded again. And at that point, I'm sure there was a part of him that probably wanted to. And, trying to prove people wrong in a contract year. Ironically, we're ahead of the deadline. He's tied the most games played for a season for him already, which, knock on wood, great for him.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Gillespie was going to be an unrestricted free agent. Certainly talked about loving Phoenix, loving where he's at. But when I talked to executives around the league, they had told me, this is a guy that could get somewhere in the $10 to $15 million a year annual range because it's a weaker free agent market. Now, we've got a lot of time before then, but that's an estimate as of now. That's going to be important for a team like Phoenix when – they're trying to get below the tax now, but looking ahead, they're going to be a tax team, most likely, unless they make some moves. So all good stuff, and I do appreciate the kind words on the player interviews. I do still utilize pregame locker room access availability. Sometimes a shoot-around practices, but I still enjoy that. I still think it's a very useful resource for all reporters and journalists, and I hope that they continue to maintain that access because it does help. Because post-game, you never know. If a team gets upset, a guy could be in a bad mood, and it could totally kill an interview. And, you've got to have like a little bit of tact with that stuff, I think, as a reporter. So I do appreciate the kind words and the support over the years, brother. Much appreciated.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you so much for joining us here on a Saturday afternoon. I can only say I hope you are plenty busy over the next several days leading up to the trade deadline.
Oh, it's my time. I love it. But yeah, we will be. Even though it's been considerably, I think, for people, a quieter deadline than years past, there's still stuff that has to get done. Certain teams have to get under the luxury tax. There are deals to be made here. I don't know if we're going to have a blockbuster deal, but there's teams that are about that action, so I'm ready for it.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming by and spending your time here on a Saturday with us. We really do appreciate it and truly enjoyed having you on the show.
My pleasure, fellas. Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, Keith, you want to get into some of our
let's get into some of the stuff. I've been flagging some of the stuff that wasn't specific to Mike, so if I missed anything, guys, we know there's some super chats. We will get into all of that. Trevor and I are going to hang out here for a little while and just talk ball with you guys now on a little bonus weekend update version of the show.
That's right. Let's see. How do you feel about Kobe White to Houston? I guess it comes down to what do you give up to get him there?
Sure.
But I like the idea of Houston adding another ball handler, a guard. He's a little bit score first. I think they could use a bit more of a facilitator, but for a team that needs some more ball handling, Kobe White, I think, does check a box for them.
Yeah, a lot more of a reasonable, acquirable guy, too. than like a John Morant or somebody who would cost a lot of money. Kobe White only makes 12.8 million. So that's a very easily acquirable contract for Houston. You could see a world where that turns into a long-term thing for them also. I think he could start, he could come off the bench, he can play on ball, can play off ball. I think he'd be a great acquisition for the Rockets and really any number of teams that need a backcourt player. I think a lot of teams should be in on Kobe White.
Agreed. All right, let's go here. This one said, I sense a trade is on the way this weekend. Well, I hope he's right. That'd be fun. I was hoping we get to hit the breaking news button.
I know, it would have been great. Except we would have seen him probably have to run off and we wouldn't have had Mike anymore. But
that's true. Okay. What is the most likely trade you see occurring? I mean, to me, it's got to be Keon Ellis, right?
Yeah, Keon Ellis. I mean, the absolute most likely trade is probably going to be something like Hunter Tyson, salary dumped to get the Nuggets under the tax and allow them to convert Spencer Jones. No one's going to get excited about that. So most likely of a trade that people will actually care about, it is probably Keon Ellis. I think I don't know how many games the Kings have left. Let's say it's 2 or 3 before the deadline. Those are going to be the last handful of games. Keon Ellis is on the Kings.
There's too much interest in him for him not to move at this point. The question
is, contract's so small, anybody can get easy.
Him. But can the Kings get somebody to take Malik Monk? Or can the Kings? The Kings seem to want, ideally, they would like both things. They would like a first-round pick and or somebody to take Malik Monk or one of these contracts off their books. I don't know that they accomplish either. I kind of think this is one of those things where right at the deadline we hear it's Keon Ellis in a deal that ultimately nets the Kings like multiple seconds or something like that.
Yeah, or like a very late top 20 protected first, or even like a first where it is a like it's a team that has 2 or 3 firsts or something like that.
Yeah. All right, let's go here. If the Bucks want to keep Giannis rather than wait until the summer for a better deal than this Thursday, trade whatever for MPJ and Cam Thomas. There was something out
for the Bucks. Is that what you're asking, D-Rock? Like the Bucks should do that, or like anybody should do whatever for MPJ and Cam Thomas?
Yeah, right. Because the Bucks, I mean, getting there math-wise to MPJ is not necessarily easy. And satisfying the Nets with the pieces that they would want for, if you're the Bucks, trying to put together enough value for MPJ might be challenging. Cam Thomas, you could certainly see him on the move. I don't think he is long for the Nets, at least past the summer anyway. So he could certainly be on the move. And the Bucks were linked to him earlier today. But was that, pre Giannis trades, that post Giannis trade that you're just trying to get somebody in who can score the ball? That'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But I would like to think if the Bucks decide they're going to keep Giannis, they would like to be a buyer. But it seems like this is pivoting more towards the Bucks looking at deals to trade Giannis and probably pushes them away from trying to add win now pieces currently.
Yeah, I mean, I'm laughing because it is like post Giannis. Kyle Kuzma's like, it's Kuzma time, baby. Let's go. Like,
well, the Washington Wizards can tell you all about how that goes.
yeah. But I mean, but if I'm the Bucks, like, all right, I can't have the number 1 pick, but I can have the number 2 pick. So yeah, let's sign me up for some Kuzma time.
Take Commander.
Yeah, let's go. You want to take 30 shots tonight? Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, let's go from there.
Let's go here. Will the Magic actually make a trade this year to make the bench unit better?
Yeah, I mean, the tough thing with the Magic is they're very, very quiet. They don't negotiate through the media. They stay pretty silent in the way they do their stuff. So I think for them, maybe you see like a Tyus Jones kind of trade or something. Maybe it's a Jonathan Isaac gets moved. I have noticed Isaac's been back in the rotation here in the last couple of weeks or last week or so. So maybe something happens there. Maybe something happens with Goga Batadze. I do think they'll do something. I don't think it's going to be anything huge. I think it'll be just, really kind of what he said here is just round out the bench a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Regarding the Cavs and Ellis and Schroeder, is Schroeder more a matter of making salary math work, or could this be a Garland replacement? And we did talk about that a little bit if they were to use him in a larger deal. What kind of value does Darius Garland have right now around the NBA?
Yeah, it's not super high because he's been injured so much.
Exactly.
And it's these repeated type injuries where this one's the other foot, but it's the same kind of injury, and that always has teams nervous. Whenever it's the same type of thing, that makes people worried. He's got a couple years left on his contract after this one for a total of about 86, 87 million. So that is where it does get a little hard to get a team to be like, yeah, you know what, let's go all in on Darius Garland.
So if you are trying to move Darius Garland right now, that could be a little bit challenging. I would see Schroeder as more of a potentially a Lonzo Ball replacement on that team than Garland, just because I think it's going to be a challenge to move on from Garland right now without surrendering stuff in order to get him off your roster. If I'm the Cavs, unless I'm getting back something really good, I don't want to move these pieces and make my team work. Like, I don't want to find a team that I can salary dump Darius Garland to right now. I want to have as much talent as I can hang on to for this year and say, hey, the East is wide open. It hasn't been a great season, but why not us? Why can't we go make that run?
Yeah, if they did this, some version of this deal that Mike reported on, and they ended up with Schroeder, my thought would be, all right, we're just keeping him, and he's a backcourt player for us for the rest of the trade deadline. When Garland gets back, now we just have good depth, and then we'll let it all sort itself out in the summertime. They probably won't keep all those guys, but we just kind of go forward. I got to address two things. A couple people have mentioned YouTube ads that they don't like. Guys, if there's a YouTube inserted ad mid-show, that's got nothing to do with us. Like, take that up with YouTube if you don't like what the ad content
and I believe it's based on your browsing history.
Yeah, that's exactly usually what it is. It's got some kind of the algorithms picking something up. And then I'm just gonna pull this up here. No trades, just more speculation. We can't make things happen. If we could, we would. But they're like, we're just getting it. We're covering the latest news that's out there. We're covering what's happening, and we're answering questions. If you don't like it, go watch a different show. Like, we're not.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. Oh, why are you guys talking about the same thing? Well, there's actually a lot of developments that have happened. And Keith, to me, around this time of year, it's not just the trade. I mean, my God, could you imagine if we only reported on trades after they're done?
Yeah,
and that's it. But a lot of it, to me, it's interesting.
12 shows a year.
Right. It's interesting how teams approach all of this and all of the different rumors that fly about. And while you have the opportunity to do this and considering what all the different options are, that it's because that's ultimately what charts the path of a team. And you get to a sense of what ultimately a team values when they're looking at building out a roster. I find all of the rumors and the different possibilities to be extremely interesting to consider different paths to take a team down. I know there's frustration. People say, oh, we want to see a deal get done. And of course, we're hoping that will be an active trade deadline. But this is, I mean, when we see all these updates on different things that can happen, it leads to a lot of really interesting conversations around these teams.
100%. And we just did some Orlando Magic talk because we got a Magic related question, and it's like, we don't do a lot of Orlando Magic talk just in general because we don't get a lot of Magic related stuff. So that's part of the fun here. So yeah, I'm it's there. It's just, we can't make it. If we could make things happen, trust me, we would have already made a handful of trades happen already.
All right, let's go here. Wouldn't a trade of Sadiq Bey, Yves Missi, or Zaire Williams, Day'Ron Sharpe would be better trade than DeAndre Hunter to the Lakers? I mean, it all depends on what you're giving up. Right. It all depends on that. I've said I don't like the idea of Rui and Connect in a Hunter trade. It would all depend on what else is coming back, because you would need something significant coming back from the Lakers side in order to take on that $25 million for the next year for Hunter. But sure, I mean, I like all of those players. Are any of those guys jumping into your starting lineup? Probably not, right? But nonetheless, those are all interesting trade targets. But it all comes down to, what are you giving up in order to get them? If you told me they could get DeAndre Hunter without parting with Rui Hachimura, great. I don't see the Cavs doing that, but fine. You know what I mean? It comes down to what you're giving up in the calculus of, is this a good trade target or not for the team? It's going to depend on what does the team look like after that trade is completed. But I do like all those guys as targets. Will the Lakers land any of those? It's going to depend on what the pricing is there.
Yeah, and they're all a lot more reasonable targets because none of them make a lot of money. The one issue I would say with Bey and Missi, as opposed to Williams and Sharp is they do have money that carries into next year, but it's a relatively small amount. So I don't think that's enough to make the Lakers be like, oh no, like we can't, that ruined our entire cap space plan this summer. Where a guy like Hunter, you're using half of your potential cap space on that. Let's go here real quick. Dark Knight says, can you guys wish my wife happy birthday? We're listening to the stream. And then he said his wife's name is Lauren. So happy birthday, Lauren.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Go. Yeah,
That's
happy
awesome.
birthday. Hope you have a great day. Make the Dark Knight take you somewhere outside of Wayne Manor and go get a nice dinner or something, or buy yourself something nice. I know half the country is still snowed in, so maybe do a little online shopping,
myself included.
Order some Grubhub, DoorDash, whatever you got to do.
Where was it? Was he in France when he finally sees Alfred and he gives him the little head nod or whatever? The little cafe?
Yeah, and he's sitting there with Catwoman.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
So take her to France.
That's it.
Get it done. Order those plane tickets right now. Happy birthday, Lauren.
Happy birthday. All right, let's go here. How available is Moussa Diabate?
I don't think he's it's not that he's untouchable, so I don't want to say that, but
they're just not looking to.
Yeah, they're just not looking to move him. He's on a great contract. He starts for them, and the Hornets love him. So I don't think very available.
Besides Keontae and Ace, which young Jazz players most likely to develop into an NBA starter? My money is on Cody Williams. Cody Williams has indeed looked better lately. He's had a pretty good month of January.
Yeah, it was a pretty low bar.
Well, that's true. But nonetheless,
good.
We've seen some good things from him.
I wanted to say, I still want to say Taylor Hendricks, but it's been such a rough road back for him. Just to go somebody different, I'll say Filipowski. Like I think he could be a low end starting center.
That's a good call. Yeah. All right, let's go here. Is there any merit behind the rumors of Ja to New Orleans? Well, we got a bunch of rumors about Ja to New Orleans, and then we got a rumor that the Pelicans are not interested in Ja to New Orleans at all. So there's the rumor that,
and then there was no counter to that. So
it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Pelicans to want Ja, but a lot of it kind of fell back on, kind of like we do with the Sacramento Kings of, well, it's the Pelicans, right? Like that's what the rationale fell back on when trying to make it make sense for him to be a target for them. I don't know. It put Ja and Zion on the same team. That two guys who have both been overall disappointing in their.
I mean, if when healthy, they'd be a lot of fun. Especially if you could get them to play fast. Like, I will say this, the Pelicans, it's out of necessity, out of trying stuff, but this Zion, Queen, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, and who am I missing? Sadiq Bey starting group that they've gone to. Been interesting. Jeremiah Fears is playing the backup point guard role. Jordan Poole's not playing at all.
Yeah. So, they're going to look to try to trade Poole, but I don't know if they're going to be able to.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, Trevor and Keith. If the Lakers trade for DeAndre Hunter, can they use his $25 million expiring deal plus cap space in a trade for a $40 to $50 million player, 45 to 50? Yeah, I mean, I
2:30 a.m. Don't skip that part of it.
Oh man, it is too. I missed that.
That's the Philippines is what that is. So yeah,
I'm guessing. So. Yeah. Welcome in at 2:30 a.m. Happy to have you here. But yes, but my counter to that would be, wouldn't you, like, if you're an opposing team and the Lakers could either have all of that in cap space or DeAndre Hunter and half of it in cap space, wouldn't you rather just have all of it in cap space than pay DeAndre Hunter $25 million next season?
Yeah, I would.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say the Lakers have, or any team has, $57 million in cap space, let's say, and they want to trade for a $40 million player. They could send back a top 55 protected second and just use cap space to absorb the salary, and off they go. And if you're the team trading for that, or trading essentially for that flexibility, I think you'd rather just have the pure cap space than have DeAndre Hunter at $25 million.
Yeah. I got nothing to add to that.
Okay.
I'm in agreement. But yes, you could do that.
You could. You guys working hard this week. Want to say thanks? Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here. Tis the season. We love this time of year.
Yeah, working hard, but it's a lot of fun. So
it is.
Is not Yeah, not hard to do.
I'm on overtime today, so here's a second. That 54-point loss to the Knicks still has me sick. I need your best realistic MPJ and Claxton deadline deals.
For MPJ, I like the idea of Detroit going after him. I think he would really help them a lot. And I think that would be really really a good move for them. So I'll say that one.
Do you think the Pistons would part with Jaden Ivey in a deal like that?
I would. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. Like,
right.
Somebody has to go eventually, because after that, then you've got Thompson, then you got Holland, you also have Jalen Duren. Like something has to give somewhere, and I don't know if he hasn't worked his way back because of the after the leg injury, or if Ivey's just not a real great fit, with this group and what they've kind of morphed into since he was hurt. But yeah, I would think about moving on from him in a trade for sure.
Absolutely. As far as Claxton goes, again, with either of these guys, you're trying to get future draft capital with both of them, trying to get as much future capital as you can. As far as the Pistons as a landing spot, I love that. I still think the Lakers are a good landing spot for Claxton, but are they going to give up what you want? Maybe not. Houston is known to be in the market for another big. I don't know that Claxton is a direct replacement for Steven Adams. They're the opposite type of center, essentially, but they're a team that's been interested in bigs. We know the Pacers are interested in bigs as well, the Celtics as well. I think there's enough teams out there on the market that you could create a little bit of a bidding war for Claxton. But again, it comes down to, will teams be willing to give up the kind of first-round draft capital that you're going to want? Because right now, not only were you seeing teams hesitant to take on future salary, but they're also very hesitant to give up future draft capital, especially first-round picks, as teams are adjusting to kind of the new economy in the NBA. So that's going to be the challenge for the Nets. I would have to think between the two, MPJ probably has a bit more value, a bigger contract.
Oh yeah, has significantly more.
Right, a bigger contract as well, though. But we'll see what the Nets can do with either one of them. I think there's going to be plenty of demand. The question is, will the Nets asking price be met?
Yeah, I have to pull this because I'm going to do the don't you wish that evil on me, Ricky Bobby? If Giannis gets traded during the Super Bowl, will Keith be on the live show? I don't know what I would do. I'd be very pissed off at that point.
That can't happen.
Why can't it?
Isn't the Super Bowl past the trade deadline?
Oh, you're right. Oh, good call. Thanks. I was getting nervous about something.
I started questioning myself. I'm like, was the Super Bowl sooner than I realized that? No,
good call. Good call. If it was though, yeah, I would be very angry. But yeah, good call by you. All right.
There you go. We could talk Keith off the ledge there.
Let's go. I want to go back just real quick to the Claxton thing.
Yeah.
The Hawks could be a good fit for him.
Good one.
Because they've got some stuff they can kind of move around a little bit, and yeah, I would kind of there. So
all right, let's go here. Should the Blazers try and get Miles Bridges? All depends on how many of those Bucks. Like that's a theoretical,
Yeah. Did you see Stein and Fisher's report on them today?
That the Blazers would be interested in
Giannis.
Buying on Giannis.
Yeah, just saying. Well, hey, if you want us to jump in, why don't we just take him for ourselves?
Kawhi Leonard, that thing.
It was kind of fun. Yeah, I kind of like that idea.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Especially because they would be just a natural buyer with all of those Bucks picks that they have. I don't know if they should. Is a year and a half of Giannis worth that Bucks draft capital that could wind up being extremely valuable? I don't know. I mean, can you talk Giannis into staying in Portland?
That would be the idea, right? We got him and we're going to convince him to stay.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go here. Keith, do you think Boston has any shot at the finals if they can land a good center?
So center's not the need it was, because Neemias Queta has played really well. He's been above a top half of the league center. Starting center this year. He's like a nightly double threat, plays pretty good defense. He's actually a really good passer, which you have to be a 5 for the Celtics, the way they run their offense. You have to be able to read and react. So I don't know that that's the need. Now, if you're talking about like they went and landed like somebody really good, maybe in order for them to have any shot at the finals, they got to get Jason Tatum back and playing some level of, even if it's 15 points a night on decent efficiency, Jason Tatum, then sure, then they have a chance. If they don't get that, they're just gonna they go through these lulls offensively where it's just too hard, especially when Jaylen Brown's not on the floor. So good playoff team. They'll be competitive in everything. They'll probably push a team really hard, but I don't know that a finals trip is in the cards unless Tatum plays fairly well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they still have the 3-point volume, the way they move the ball and shoot. Like they could advance pretty far. Yep. I think, especially in the East playoffs, they can get there. Tatum could be the piece that puts them over the top in that. Would you trade Ayton for Mathurin? I mean, like from a Lakers perspective, value wise, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely do that. But I don't think the Pacers would. From a practical perspective, yes, you would have to go find another center somewhere. But yes, if you could turn DeAndre Ayton into Mathurin from the Lakers side, I would do that. From the Pacers side,
let's pause though. Yeah. There. Would you? Because that eats up half your cap space for next year because his cap holds $27.5 million.
Sure.
And are you gonna have him, Austin Reeves, and Luka?
Yeah, I mean, that's a challenge, certainly. If you're looking for young talent that can grow long term for your club, that makes sense. But yes, there are some fit concerns there.
It's a little weird. Yeah,
it's a little bit of a weird fit. I just think value wise, Mathurin is more valuable than Ayton.
I agree with that. That I do. Yeah, we're 100% on the same page.
You see the perfect fit? Probably not. And I think people fall back on the Pacers had interest in Ayton in the past, so therefore they would be willing to give up stuff and trade for him now. And sometimes that's not always a given, right? That's actually going to be the case. It's a lot different when you're asking a team to trade for a player versus would a team be willing to sign a player after they're bought out or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
John said, you both are the best. Thank you. Lakers should be concentrating on a trade for LeBron's replacement. Power forward, LeBron not coming back. He'll go to the Cavs retirement tour. It will happen. Make a trade for DeAndre. We have a bromance for FC. Keith, go Lakers.
Well, there's a lot.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a old sentimental little fart, but I am a little into the idea of LeBron back on the Cavs.
Yeah.
Like I do kind of like that idea. Not going to happen at the trade deadline, but next season, like I don't know, maybe that's kind of where we're headed with that. Yeah, let's do this one because it's along the same vein. If you're the Lakers, you can't get any 3-and-D players. Do y'all like going in on a pre-agency and getting MPJ Thomas? Feel like they get a post LeBron power forward, a great bench scorer to put around Luka. Yeah, I don't mind that idea at all. Like I think that's not the worst idea. That's the direction you wanted to go in. It's going to cost you a lot of guys now, but that's probably okay. Those guys probably aren't going to be back anyway if you're making other moves. So I don't hate that idea. I'd be cautious of giving up too much draft capital in a trade like that, but they can't give up too much draft capital in an in-season trade. So yeah, I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, I don't mind the concept of pre-agency at all for the Lakers. I think you're putting a lot of pressure on the summer if you do nothing right now. And then there's a lot of, okay, we got to spend all this cap space and it's all got to be used good and wisely. And we've got to come out of it with the team that we envision having. That's a lot. That's a lot of work to do in one summer to try to put on. So if you could do a little bit now and then a little bit in the summer, that's probably something you should try for. Mark said there's a pop-up ad with Adam Devine. I don't know how you say his name. Is it Devine? Saying, boom, Trevor has a similar sounding voice. I thought a massive trade happened. Love the channel. Well, hey, I've jumped so many times over the last few days because my phone goes off or something, and I think it means something just went down. We're at that time of year, Keith, and it's not until February 6th that things will normalize. We're on pins and needles mode right now.
Yeah, I don't love that NBA trade deadline comes like right at the start of the pitchers and catchers in spring training because I don't want to take alerts off for Jeff Passan. But like if I get another like left-handed reliever signing somewhere notification, I'm probably just gonna have to do it. And then I'll just turn them back on later.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because it's man, we're on red alert right now. Do the Hornets make a move? Sexton or Bridges?
Yeah, Colin Sexton is probably more likely than Bridges. Sexton plays a role for them, but comes off the bench for a team that has guard depth. The Hornets still like Trey Mann, so you could maybe move Sexton to fill a hole elsewhere. Maybe somebody who's like got money that goes into the out years from here and to do something like that. So I don't have any real issue with that one.
I don't understand what this is saying. OKC will never need to gift wrap picks.
Yeah, I think there was another comment where like they got us just start giving away draft picks, and I don't think that's gonna be like they're not just gonna give them away, but what they can do is they can overwhelm somebody.
Sure,
you need another pick. Here we go.
They have more picks than they can use, so they're going to have to start moving them down the road, at least turn them into a future pick. And I think, I'm not saying they can't. I think there will be teams that'll want to do that. Yeah. But yeah, they'll have to start, making some moves there.
I like this one from Cassandra. Hi from Connecticut. I work in a school and got a snow day last trade deadline and a half day this year. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's go.
Love that. No movie for her kids. Unlike the former Mr. Lane strategy.
America's story of us time, kids. Fill out that worksheet and leave me alone. Cam Johnson not working in Denver. Gordon with a hamstring might trip them up. Did the Nuggets make a move?
And only Cam Johnson's not working. Exactly. He just has been hurt. And I think because he was playing better right before he got hurt. So, yeah, I mean, do they make a move? Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, I said it earlier in the show. They're gonna probably salary dump Hunter Tyson to get under the luxury tax and create the room to sign Spencer Jones to a standard deal. I think Jones is down to either 2 or 3 games left of eligibility now, and he starts every night for them. Yeah, if you could get out of Cam Johnson, bring back in some help that helps you clear out some money and gives you room for to re-sign Peyton Watson next year, I think they'd be open to that because they're playing pretty well without Cam Johnson. So you don't feel like you're losing anything there per se.
All right, let's go here. I like Nurk on the Celtics or the Rockets. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. I do think Utah's going to do what they can to move him and see what they can get for him. Yeah, but in pretty acquirable contract, makes like $19 million. So sure. And he's been playing great on offense.
All right, last one we're going to do here. Should the Lakers go all in on Braun's replacement for Watson in Denver? Denver has cap struggles for next year. Lakers give him a 5-year $150 to keep Denver strapped. I mean, we've talked about the perils of restricted free agency. Denver will not tell you what their answer is going to be until they absolutely have to. So you're going to tie up most of your money in free agency. I do think that Denver is in a situation where teams could test restricted free agency in a way and test the resolve of the Nuggets in a way that we normally don't see in restricted free agency. But you're better off, as Keith, we've talked about a number of times here, you're probably better off. Peyton says, hey, I want to sign with the Lakers or any team. That team is probably better off going to the Nuggets saying, look, he wants to sign with us rather than do this whole dance. Let's work out a sign and trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And if nothing else, Denver would get a massive trade exception out of that, really good size. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to play the RFA game, they can't offer him 5, but they could offer him 4. You can't go more than 4 when you're signing another team's player. But you could offer him 4 years, let's just use the 30 million for 120. Like, that's probably enough where you're kind of getting Denver to be like, boy, can we do this or not? So
yeah.
If I'm Denver, I'm probably anything 25 to 27. I'm just going to keep him myself and, go forward from there. with that. So you guys that are saying he's worth 10 to 18 million, you're way off on your valuations. So you're like 10 million. That's less than the mid-level. That's like room exception money.
Yeah. So, well, Keith, there's people that tell me that Austin Reeves isn't worth more than 20 million. Rui Hachimura should be 12 million. Right? Like everybody's a few years behind, I think, on valuations. Yep. But that's the way it's always been. For the last decade, people have been a few years behind on what players are actually getting under the current system. All right, everybody, we appreciate. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. It was great having Michael Scotto.
Everybody go watch Hornets Spurs. The Hornets are about to play Giant Killer again. They're up 13 in the fourth quarter.
Let's go.
Yeah,
the Hornets are a fun team, man.
Yeah, man, they are something else. When's the next front office episode? Monday, unless something crazy happens. Yeah, hope we're back later today or tomorrow. That'd be great because I meant something happened to cause us to have to jump on the mics. But yeah, for now, Monday.
Thank you again, everybody. And this was awesome. Glad we got to spend a Saturday here with y'all. And we'll see if this weekend brings us an NBA trade. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.